Welcome, welcome. We are fleshing out every crazy corner of the Manson world that we possibly can. We do it by the seat of our pants and with amazing research techniques. And my co-host, Mr. Casey Fields, the big case, is one of the most noted researchers in this world. Hence why we appreciate you so much here, along with your stellar personality. However, I just really want to share with y'all what I have in a partner, because he can shift gears. He can speak on any part of this case fluently in any stage of the game. So today, we're just sitting down, and I said, "Hey, man, what do you want to talk about?" And then he said, "I don't know, man. Should I drop a bombshell?" And David Rogerson, Twilight Garage, woo! I'm always down for a bombshell, home. What? So this is what I get all day, every day. That's why when people want to blow up on YouTube or say strange things, whatever the fuck those guys are doing over there, like, I love it, because I'll tell you what we're doing over here. Dropping bombshells in the garage. So what do you got for us, Big Case? What's the bombshell, man?
I'm so blessed, man. Throughout the week, I'm always talking to amazing people on the phone. And man, I mean, my phone calls alone would be an amazing show. You know, I had a great call earlier this week with a couple of dear friends, but one of the people that I love to talk with, and I've mentioned her before on the show, and I encourage all of you to watch her podcast, Dana from Rotting Jewels.
Wait, what? Whoa. Whoa. Hold up. We slow down here and pause on the show on occasion. I'm going to throw breaks, not for the purpose of research, but for the purpose of, I thought we were friends, Casey. You tell me nothing. You've been talking to our dear friend collectively, Dana, on the phone? Seriously?
Yeah, so Dana, as being an expert in Ed Sanders' files, the Princeton collection,
Yes.
and being such a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to the Process Church, Scientology, and their connections into this case. From time to time, I like to drop little things on her and try to get her opinion, because she's looking at this case as an outsider. So she looks at it with a fresh set of eyes, and yet she's still knowledgeable about the case and these extra documents. So,
man,
I brought up, I have this whole document that I refer to from time to time. That's a bunch of rumors of stuff that I can't really find anything about. And from time to time, I'll drop one of these things on her. And man, this time she freaking took me down a rabbit hole.
Okay. Me as an observer of Dana, I really dig her a lot. I think she's super thorough. I don't understand how somebody can put so much information together so quickly into such a fine point and then backfill it for literally hours. And it's entertaining and informative. And she cites all her research.
Yes.
So you don't really have to do anything once you establish trust with her.
Yes.
Just cite her work. She puts a book out. It seems like every week.
Yeah.
I don't know what her
She
cycle
puts a lot of hours into these episodes.
Incredible. That's why I've never spoken to her directly, partially because I don't have any business speaking to her yet. But dude, it would be like, I don't know. Do you better ever act together? It could be like a hamburger and a piranha tank, because her mind is voracious. So you went into the Ed Sanders?
Yeah. So let me, I'll try to unwrap it for everybody.
Please, here we go. But Dana, we're in awe.
I've had this little sentence sitting in this document for probably 2 years, and it's come up a couple times in my research. I've seen it in Ed Sanders' files, but I've also seen it a couple other places too, where it's referring to a cult that was at Barker Ranch prior to the family. And I was like, whoa, like what could that be? So I thought the only piece of proof we could talk to about this would have been one of the old timers that was around, a Clint Anderson or an individual like that.
So somebody in the back house hippie crew.
Yeah, I wanted to know about.
Transitional.
I would have loved to have talked to Paul Crockett about it because he might have been familiar with this. But it's always just stayed at that, this unknown cult that was possibly at Barker Ranch. And let me say this first. I do not know if that rumor is true or not, but what I'm about to roll out, there is good evidence for. Okay.
Uh-oh, Tyler's, hold on to your biscuits.
So many of you may be familiar with the famous occultist in England, Aleister Crowley.
Okay, sure.
So he influenced people all over the world. A future book of mine is going to end up dealing with another one of his proteges. But one of his proteges was a famous physicist, rocket scientist named Jack Parsons, which was doing work at which is now known as the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California.
Okay.
Jack Parsons, they've done movies on him. He's a really interesting guy, brilliant scientist. But on the side, in his secret life, he was into the occult, like to perform rituals, sex magic, this kind of stuff.
Neat.
So Jack Parsons, one of his best friends, was L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology.
Nice.
So at one point, Jack Parsons and L. Ron went out to the Mojave Desert, and they were doing this ritual together. They were trying to bring about manifest a love interest for Jack Parsons. So for 2 weeks, they were doing all kinds of witchy stuff out in the desert. And eventually Jack Parsons looks over at Elron and says, "It is done." So he had some kind of confirmation in his spirit that the gods or whatever
they were summoned.
Summoned. Something was going
spiritual feeling within himself in his energy field, or however you want to term it.
Yep.
But he felt sated.
At the same time, there was a woman, unbeknownst to him, that was in the LA area named Marjorie Cameron. Marjorie Cameron had a friend that was a nurse that I think she went to school with. And the nurse told her, "Hey, I'm going out to this party on Friday night at this giant mansion out in Pasadena. Why don't you come with me?" So she rolls out there, and at this party, which happened to be at Jack Parsons' mansion,
hey, babe,
the two hit it off. And they spent the next 2 weeks together laying in bed and enjoying each other's company.
John and Yoko style.
So Jack Parsons and Marjorie Cameron both believed that through the gods or whatever, they were connected, right? This is what he had summoned. She actually believed it too. And she was a friend of a lot of interesting individuals involved in this case, one of which was Kenneth Anger.
Our dear friend who keeps finding himself woven throughout this narrative. Ooh, this is getting better.
So Marjorie Cameron was in Lucifer Rising.
All right.
With Bobby
alongside our dear boy.
Yep. And she was also friends with people like Dennis Hopper, Dean Stockwell. She was in a couple of Hopper's movies.
Well pedigreed, if you will.
Yeah. She was connected with all kinds of guys. A famous salon owner, Samson DeBrier, which was also very much into the occult. One of the premier avant-garde artists of the day. Which herself, Marjorie herself was a very talented artist as well.
Right. That's how her name lives on.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even understand these other elements of some of these people's lives. Like Kenneth Anger. I read about him more in the kind of mid 80s in those Feral House books. You know, they
Yes.
talked about the filmmaking and the avant-garde wild sex life and stuff. And there was no mention of any of these other things. It was less bloodthirsty and gorehound and more
Mhm.
sex hot. You know, it was like the spiral image of some titties or something. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, less like it is now. It's funny how, you know, throughout the years, people's images and how they're presented get
Mhm.
shifted.
At one point, Kenneth Anger, I think for like a 2-year period, lived with Marjorie Cameron. He basically referred to her as his mother. So they had a really close relationship.
So there's a very spiritual
Yep.
connection between them. Now, where do
Mhm.
you feel that evolved towards? And do you think that flavored her at all? Because him mentioning her, clearly she impacted him. But is there any indication that there was that he impacted her?
I think so. I think that his style of filmmaking and his boldness and bravery of having no problem sharing nudity and things like that. She was very much into drawing naked women in scandalous poses, sometimes in the midst of sexual action, you know.
So almost like
Yeah.
a little further pressing of a Georgia O'Keeffe type
Yeah.
feminine pseudo-sexual.
And it seems that Samson DeBrier and Kenneth Anger actually helped put on art expositions, like galleries, really presenting her work as well. And one of those actually was
Oh, that's
broken up by
interesting.
LAPD. They ran a SWAT on it, closed it down, charged her with pornography
Dude,
charges, and I mean,
that's the best kind of publicity you could get. But you know, that's funny because when people talk about Bobby or Bobby talks about himself, you'll hear that whole element mentioned about all these art communities and these events and these scenes. And Lynn has told me personally about how he would just really occupy a room. He had this warmth about him, this just good nature, and that he was very effervescent. And there was a sweetness within the charisma.
mhm,
You know, it doesn't seem like he had quite the grab of a Charlie who's, you know, that
mhm,
level of charisma where it's got claws in it.
mhm.
Whereas he was more the, you know, playing the corner kind of charisma from what I took
Very
away from
well
it.
liked.
Yeah, very much man, woman, child, apparently. Just a great energy around the guy. And so when he used to talk about these things in the books, you don't really think about the fact that you've got perhaps that much work. Like you've got a dozen people putting on an art show that took a month to get together. You had to get a space, you had to do all these different things. You know, it's a great deal of effort. Most people, if they do that a couple of times in their life, that's the thing they're going to talk about over and over and over. But you think about Bobby's short life in freedom, right?
Mhm,
You know, he was a father who never got to hold his own child as a free man,
mhm.
who but yet had this rich life with all these art shows. And
Yeah.
then this was one of the catalysts to that.
Yep.
Now what is your take on her beyond that? Now
So yeah, it's really getting we're just getting juicy now.
exactly, people.
So Marjorie Cameron, when she was married to Jack Parsons, they were planning on going a trip down in Mexico on a trip. She went to go get gas for the car, and on her way back, Jack was doing an experiment in the basement of the house and blew up the house. Died at 38 years old.
Just cratered the house?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Shit used to happen like that because I didn't even know this story, but one of my closest friends growing up, his dad, who I was also close with, blew his right hand off screwing around in a chemistry lab
Wow.
at Cal State Bakersfield
Wow.
in the early 70s and had a hook, right? People used to do shit like that. Like,
Mhm.
You don't see kids in casts anymore. And people don't blow their hands off or kill themselves and crater their homes doing experiments anymore.
And this guy was probably the leading rocket scientist of the day.
Great.
Working
God.
for the government, were basically the beginnings of NASA. He later worked for Howard Hughes and was producing some of the first jet engines ever produced. So he blows up this house. She's now a widow. She's obviously heartbroken, but prior to her passing, her and Jack came to an agreement that if one of us passes away, we are going to do a ritual and try to reincarnate the other.
Dude, yes, that's hot. That is so sexy. Dude, could someone talk to my wife about this? I need some stuff like that. Let's see. I love this show. Twilighters, where men, we get to have a little something. Look at all these male fairy tales coming true. Fuck yeah. That's sexy as shit.
So this ballsy woman, instead of, drowning in her tears, she did a few things.
Necromancy?
One, she was trying to get pregnant, hoping that possibly her offspring would be the reincarnation of her husband. Two, which is kind of interesting because we're going to come back to that later on as being a possibility here.
I hope so.
Number two is she started a cult, which she named the Children. Now, this is not David Berg's Children of God. That's famous. This is a cult that is more referenced as Cameron's Children. Okay.
That's awesome.
So what she was doing is she collected a group of followers, a very interracial mixed group. They were basically a sex cult. They went out to the desert and they were having all kinds of babies. And they were trying to do two things. One, bring back Jack Parsons. But two, they were trying to literally have Rosemary's Baby and usher in the Antichrist in one of these children, right?
I love that shit.
So
holy cow.
This is where Dana came in.
Oh,
I said, Dana, have you ever heard of a cult out in the desert? And she said,
hell yes, I have.
Yeah, of course. She said there was a cult that was out there that believed that in Aleister Crowley's teaching, that if you were in a place with enough dead bodies, that you could open a portal.
Now, do the physical remains need to be there? There's probably some specifications so that their spirits, because you're trying to have a spirit pile.
I guess,
to open a portal.
Yeah.
Because the pictures I have of him, I have some of his music.
Yeah.
He was always rocking these triangles and these radiations. So that was supposed to be a portal.
Allegedly, Aleister Crowley opened up portals. This is something that he used to do. Some people think that the Loch Ness Monster, he lived on that lake. And so they think that he might have opened the portal in which brought through the Loch Ness Monster.
Aye, Nessie.
But so allegedly she was out there in the desert trying to open a portal and bring back Jack. She was doing all kinds of astral projection, trying to go into the astral plane and find Jack so that she could usher him back into the physical world.
I love this Cameron woman. I need some of that in my life, bro.
All the while, she is a gorgeous redhead woman, just knockout. Hollywood stars want to sleep with her.
You saved that to the last for me? Oh, because you knew I would have passed out. That's all I need in my life is a gorgeous redhead. Oh,
she's been referred to as people like Kenneth Anger as the Scarlet Whore of Babylon. Yeah, quite the title. But so Marjorie Cameron has this cult of people, and she moves with a couple of guys up into the Haight-Ashbury. In 1967, she's living at the corner of Cole in hate.
Whoa. Sounds rather
Yeah.
close proximity to some people we've been
Probably
talking about.
200 feet from Charlie, Mary, and Lynette's apartment, and directly across the street from the Process Church of the Final Judgment.
Oh, which is why Dana will crush that ass with all knowledge. I want to slide something in real quick.
Yes, please.
Manson family movements on the Charles Manson Trail. They didn't have any big official dates, or it was month by month, or the rent, or anything solid with the dates in the Cole House,
Gotcha.
or anything in San Francisco or having to do with the hate. It was apparently usually a few days at a time, maybe a couple weeks at a time. They'd leave for a couple weeks, maybe take a month-long road trip, maybe take 2 days off.
Gotcha.
But it was just a constant flux in and out.
Is it fair to call it like a hostel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's fair. And then I asked about Sean across the street. She didn't remember the boat or anything, but she said they were just in and out a lot.
Yeah.
And then I pulled up a couple other things, but the process of the church of the process, right?
Yes.
Now, could we please just real quick here touch on that for a second for our viewers?
Nick Shrek and I actually visited this location. He's working on a documentary, and I wanted Nick to be able to show the storefront of what used to be the I and Thou coffee shop, which is directly at the corner. It's a T street. Okay. So you have Cole Street meets up with Haight Street. There on Haight Street was the Process Church in the I and Thou coffee shop. In the basement was where the Process used to meet. They had their coffee shop outreach, which was on the ground level.
Okay.
So and then in the upstairs, upstairs they had an apartment, which was a couple of bedrooms. One was inhabited full-time by Victor Wilde. And also they had a room where anytime Robert DeGrimston came out, leader of the Process, he could stay there. So the members of the Process have said in documentaries, they recall Charlie coming in and getting coffee at their shop. So Marjorie Cameron lives right there in the vicinity as well with a couple of gentlemen. Now,
Scarlet Heart of Babylon.
Ed Sanders mentions this is where it really gets wild.
Dude, Ed Sanders, here's the thing. Just again, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ed Sanders to me was always like that entry level thing where he shot the load a little too quick. It was like, whatever, you know what I mean? It was kind of pedestrian, some of it. But man, the past couple of years, I have been going back to that. And then the whole garbage people thing, I really didn't see.
John Gilmore.
You turned me on to those two. And now Dana, I've been going back and looking at some of her work, y'all, Rotting Jewels. Wow. I really appreciate that. There's a lot there.
Dana and I just love Ed Sanders. Shout out to Ed.
Yeah, I dismissed him. If you guys have done the same, please do yourself a favor. Some of it is, it was irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But
there's some things that he started going down the rabbit hole and he never quite tied it up.
But then some of it, it leads you to tie it up yourself.
Yeah, we're now starting to tie up a lot of that stuff.
And some of it's coming together. It's not as far out as it seems.
Exactly.
Really?
So this one was a wild one.
Okay.
So Ed Sanders, I believe he wrote, it was either in The Family or his second book, Sharon Tate, A Life.
Oh, that was the second one.
He in regards to this porn tape shot by Roman Polanski of Sharon Tate having sex with two black bisexual jazz musicians from San Francisco. Okay. This has become pretty common. A huge rumor, but has also become kind of common knowledge because Tom O'Neill's written about in his book, Chaos. He had a meeting with Vincent Bugliosi where Bugliosi said, yes, I saw the footage. Sharon was basically being SA'd and not enjoying it on this recording. the whole reason why Vincent Bugliosi never submitted this into evidence was because it would have implicated Roman possibly in being in some kind of position to murder his wife. So basically, if a husband was willing to record his wife being sexually assaulted on camera, that could lead a jury to believe the husband may have been involved.
Well, especially with the culture of Rosemary's Baby and that time and this whole satanic tie-in that they were trying to work in anyway.
Yeah.
Sex rituals and different things. That's pretty heavy duty. Now, so that's the only
tape.
real source is
Well,
Vince.
Well, so like we know that the tape was taken out of the attic or loft of the Cielo home.
Correct.
By LAPD. They took it back to the LAPD, LA Police Academy headquarters or academy where they had their film department.
Okay.
They made copies of the film. Here's where I think Bugliosi lied. Bugliosi said that he instructed the officers to return the tape to the Cielo loft prior to Polanski coming home, which is
They couldn't have
stupid.
They couldn't have had time to do all this.
But Bugliosi wasn't added to the case until like I think November 18th, 1969. There's no way in August he was giving LAPD any kind of orders to return any kind of tape. But what
people? It's
Yeah.
called research.
What did happen though is LAPD made copies of this tape and it took it. And when I say tape, I mean film reel.
Okay.
They took the can and put it back where they found
So
it.
probably 8mm or whatever.
So whenever Polanski first went to the house, I think he arrived around the 12th or 13th back in LA. One of our viewers could probably correct me on that, but somewhere around that next week after the murders, he arrived back and he was actually seen at the Cielo house by investigators going up into the loft, getting the canister and leaving the property with that film canister.
Okay, I understand all these things would lead
Yeah.
one to believe perhaps that was what was on that tape. But yet, for me, if the only source of the subject of the
Mhm.
tape comes from Vince Bugliosi,
It comes from Ed Sanders, written in 1971.
right.
Then Vincent Bugliosi in 75, and then Tom O'Neill in
Right.
2017.
But all of those
Yeah.
source materials emanate from one Vincent.
But I don't know
Bugliosi,
I don't
right?
know where Sanders got it from.
Oh, I thought you just said that you got
Yeah.
it from Vince.
No, I don't know where Ed got that from. But Ed has the most detail on it because Ed posed as a pornography dealer in New York City and was trying to buy not only those tapes, but also other famous tapes of snuff films and things like that. So Ed got pretty deep into that world.
So we had a cover story.
Yeah, I mean these tapes were.
No.
I'm gonna really throw out a couple names here. One of my dear friends refers to Hugh Hefner as the Blockbuster Video of celebrity porn. So I guarantee you Hugh Hefner had a copy of this tape. Hugh Hefner used to trade these tapes with what's his name? The artist I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But another famous artist that collected these films as well.
So you believe this existed?
I believe not only the tape existed, but I believe O'Neill, Bugliosi, and Sanders that the content that they said was on it actually was. Now, there's also rumors of other films involving Cass Elliot and, Dean Martin and Yul Brenner and all these
What
different
about
Hollywood
what about all the
people.
ones with Cary Grant being
all
blown
that's
by
We've
Charlie?
never actually seen any of those, and we don't actually know if those films ever existed. Allegedly, like guys like George Hamilton and Steve McQueen and those guys they paid money to get those films back. Allegedly, they paid up as much as like $25,000 to $30,000 to get those films. This is coming out of like FBI documents,
Really?
but I didn't want
Wait a
to.
minute,
I don't want to stay too long.
By FBI? No,
yeah.
by FBI, do you mean Nicholas Schreck? Or what do you mean?
No. These are documents that are
What?
available
That
on the
he
vault.
that they bought their own porn back?
Yeah.
People, in the comments, what do you think? Was there porn? Should we go after the porn? Should we look at the porn? And let's have a little vote here in a second, because I, for one, don't believe that there was anyone who spent time on the ranch beyond maybe Bobby.
No, this has nothing to do with the family.
Well, I'm just saying
Sharon Tate and Roman.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's some celebrity porn, but I don't think there's any Manson family porn. Now, do you? Just curious.
I mean, it depends on what you consider porn, right? I consider like what Hendrickson filmed between FBI Kevin Rapp and Gypsy out in the desert, getting it on as soft core, right?
Okay, that's right.
I would say that like Hendrickson says that they filmed the family separate prior to him. They filmed in black and white towards the end of like 1969, early 70, black and white 8mm footage of all kinds of things. So I don't know. I'm going off of what people have said. As for Charlene Kafritz,
right,
she's the big one. A lot of people say that she filmed orgies or porn. Allegedly, those films made it into the basement after she died of her mom's house. What I heard was when there was a flood and when researchers like Tom showed up at that house to get a hold of these films, they opened up the canisters and there was no film inside. So I don't know what happened to those films, nor if they ever existed. But
there you go.
The main part, I don't want to go too deep into the porn thing, but Ed Sanders claims that these two black bisexual jazz musicians that were involved in this sexual film with Sharon, he said they were a part of a cult that was up in San Francisco called the Children.
Dang.
So
we're hearing this
as I'm going through Marjorie Cameron's thing, she's talking about she's got two guys in her cult that are black bisexual jazz musicians living up there in San Francisco with her.
Okay.
So here's the $1 million question. If this is true, how did Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate get hooked up with a couple of people from Marjorie Cameron's cult?
Well, I would, for one, suggest off the top of my head, it's not that hard based on all these other relationships that now seem incredible. You think about Ms. Lynette Fromme allegedly dating the guy who went on to be the road manager for the Doors. Mm-hmm. You've got Catherine Gillis with the great Buffalo Springfield band, tight relationships, which resulted in Neil Young befriending Charles Manson and giving him a motorcycle, and them going to the desert and all these different things that these people did. It was a much smaller, more intimate scene and much friendlier, trusting, immediate world in terms of relationships. The being cool thing was, come to my house, let me feed you and love on you, not let me judge you from afar from my Bentley with my yoga mat in the back. It was a whole different frame of mind. These people were actually going through a phase that I don't think people now can actually appreciate because we've never experienced it. I've had it as a small child when I was in some different communities in the desert where they were based on love, and it was an incredible experience. And so these people were having this happen a lot.
Yeah, I want to emphasize though, this doesn't have anything to do with the family.
Oh yeah.
This is, we need to like separate it because
no, but
there's a lot of rumors
right.
about Sharon being involved in the occult. We know that she worked on Eye of the Devil, and allegedly she was sworn in or became a witch in the process of making that movie.
Right.
I do not know if it's true. It could be completely sensationalized. But what we do know is that a Ouija board was found in Abigail Folger's room, sitting right on a chair in the crime scene pictures. Also, 2 nights prior to the murders, Sharon, a friend, and Abigail were playing around with the Ouija board. Yeah. So, and Ed Sanders, every time he got around Doris Tate, the first question she asked him was, did you find anything else about Sharon and the occult? So if her mom is asking, I think that we need to at least keep it as a possibility.
That's interesting.
And this is going to come as super offensive to some of my best friends and some people that are in the Sharon Tate fandom, that they just love Sharon.
No.
But we need to at least investigate these things, because Ed Sanders talks about it through talking to her friends like Shiro Katami. And this is another one of those things
the main
where
person I heard any of that from was Katami.
Yeah. So this begs I'm going to throw a really wild one out here, and some people might I might get in trouble for that.
Oh, let's do it. P for trouble. If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place.
Now, obviously, Roman Polanski did not write Rosemary's Baby.
Correct.
That was a book written prior. He did direct the film, and he did have obvious influence.
Adapted it to screenplay.
Adapted it, right. Some people believe that he was going to use Sharon. I believe Mia Farrow was his choice all along.
Most sense.
Right. In the film, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert from an old movie, this woman is basically impregnated with the spawn of Satan. The interesting part about this is Marjorie Cameron's cult was trying to do exactly that. Someone be impregnated with the spawn of Satan.
That's true. Because
why would Roman Polanski take
that.
2 of the cult members from this cult that's intentionally doing that to have carnal knowledge with his wife on camera? It almost makes me wonder, was Polanski messing around and doing his own real life thing, Rosemary's Baby type of thing?
Well, because if you think about the symbolism in the Bible and these different forms, as offensive and unpalatable it is in society today, the black man represents the shadow psyche, the evil side of man, these different things. So those, if you think about the way the occult works, it's these very non-subtle things such as that it plays on and works with. And that's why these motifs keep sounding so familiar and repeating themselves. So then where did they wind up?
So I located the name of one of the 2 men.
Right.
That was with Sharon. I'm trying to figure out the name of the other.
What? You have the no.
I got a name.
No. And has he ever copped to it?
No, I haven't reached out to him. I don't know if he's still alive. I'm in the initial stages, but I'm still going down this rabbit hole, and it may lead to nowhere. But I just want to say this. Everything that I said in regards to Marjorie Cameron, you can find online. Okay. I will cite all of those sources in my book. Okay. As to the speculation involving Sharon Tate, that kind of stuff, I'm going to cite it in regards to the other books that it's been printed, but I do not have the evidence showing that that's true.
Yeah. Exactly. Whereas as it potentially an interesting cross-pollination to make note of, because maybe something will present itself later, Twilighters. And that's why here we just try to put the information out on the table, because some of the things we found out over the past few years have confirmed what were only rumors in the past, or we've been able to dispel them as we thought we might.
To me, that's like, it's so many levels of coincidence, it almost can't be one, because it's specific. It's San Francisco, Black, bisexual jazz musicians, a part of a cult called The Children.
Wow.
So, and Marjorie Cameron only had maybe 20 to 25 people in her cult.
So it was one of those sex cults. They had some that I was around in the late 90s in San Francisco, I was a weed dealer. And so you'd sometimes, you'd deal with these different groups of people, and they would have these gnarly sex cults. They'd have like these flats. They'd have like 20 different bedrooms, all these people living there, all connected. And it was all about, dude, I just couldn't wait to get the hell out of there, bro, every single time. But all these names, like you say, Kenneth Anger, all these woven names. Well, thank you for bringing that in. And as always, bombshells are ready here for you, Twilighters. Absolutely free. If you subscribe, well, then maybe we could hang out with Michael channels and get a little bit of tutoring here. We've been in the humor section for the past year. So thanks, YouTube, for that. And seriously, the fact that you're spending your time with us means the world to me personally. I don't care why you're here. The fact that you're here is amazing. You turning us onto this, is there anything more? Are we going to get to?
No, that's it. I do want to thank real quick Stoner Van Houten for highlighting Twilight Garage on his show a few times.
Right.
Yeah, and really try to bring his people in and introduce them to our show. I really appreciate that.
That's huge.
Shout out, Stoner.
Exactly. And then I brought up Michael Channels earlier because I like to express gratitude towards those who brought me here. If it wasn't for George Stimson's patience with me, I don't know where I'd be. Getting to know Deb Silva, thank God, but it was really Stoner Van Houten that got me in touch with Lynn, that put me, as I like to say, on the map. And if it wasn't for Michael Channels having love for Stoner Van Houten, there'd be no one to love on me for this show to happen, for me to have met you.
Very cool.
And to be working with Alex. So the way these things all come together for me makes a lot of sense. So again, I don't care why you're here. Eventually, you're going to feel the love and be a part of this. And we hope you come out of the woodwork and start sharing some of your great knowledge that I know is out there. Thank you again, Twilighters, for joining us. And my dear friend and co-host, Mr. Casey Fields, and producer Alex.